Hi, this is Argonax, and we talk about things that don't matter. Valve Software. They make a lot of games. Most of them are on PC, and even more specifically, on Steam. But what if they weren't? What if these gaming masterpieces and mediocre masterpieces were available to play on other platforms, whether they be other hardware consoles or other PC gaming storefronts? These games are enjoyed by millions of people, but unfortunately, they are kind of locked behind the Steam program, which isn't necessarily much of a downgrade because I don't think there's a single person on Earth who will say that Steam is the worst option. I mean, honestly, how can Valve compete? Uplay is right there. Yeah, right. Fucking excuse for a gaming PC storefront.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Valve has actually made their games playable in consoles in the past, across various console generations. They kinda gave up around the 2010s, roughly when Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, and Dota was in full swing, but I think this trend is starting to change. And I don't mean just for Valve, I mean in the gaming industry as a whole. Exclusivity in consoles and even gaming platforms is starting to slowly become less and less prevalent. And as time goes on, I think we can expect more of Valve's masterpieces to show up in consoles and gaming storefronts that we probably wouldn't have expected them to be in the past. Dota 2 on Battle.net, anyone? No, I'm just joking. That's actually never gonna fucking happen. For an actual legitimate example, you got Nintendo Switch and the Portal Companion Collection. To my knowledge, unless I'm missing something, this is the first time that Valve has released their games for a mainline console in almost 10 years. And we know for a fact that Valve is tackling the console market and the handheld market seriously. After all, they did make the Steam Deck, one of the most innovative and industry-defining pieces of hardware out there. We are currently on the 9th generation of consoles, and it's actually been quite a few years since these consoles debuted. In other words, there's only probably like a couple more years left before these consoles are going to be replaced by the next generation. So, in my mind, I can fully expect Valve and their games to be ported onto the current generation, or if not this generation, the next one. After all, at the time of this recording, the Switch 2 is just about to be released. And in a couple years after that, we can expect probably the PlayStation 6 afterwards. Who's to say that maybe Valve would want to develop new games with these new consoles in mind? I'm not saying that Valve is going to prioritize consoles over PC, absolutely not. But it would be nice if they were to make games in the future that they keep these consoles in mind. That's a market that they can tap into. And another thing to keep note of is that most of Valve games are FPS shooters, or at least shooters of some kind. I'm aware that there's outliers, I'm a Dota player after all, but shooters lend themselves very well to being played on consoles, specifically controllers. And before I say anything more, I will admit I am a PC purist. I haven't owned a console in almost a decade, and even when I did not play multiplayer games. So I'll be real, I have no idea how people play Call of Duty or Apex Legends competitively on consoles. I'll be completely real. Do you guys just like turn auto-aiming off? I have no clue. That being said, the TF2 YouTuber SolarLite made a video that showed that there's a new way for console players, or people playing on controllers specifically.
I've got a question. SolarLite is using a controller. How's he hitting this many punches with a controller?
I mean, maybe he's really good at Call of Duty.
To be able to match the flick reaction speed that people on mouse and keyboard have. It's called Flick Stick. I won't get into all of it here, but essentially it's a way for people on consoles to be able to mimic the faster, more responsive way of playing FPS shooters, kind of like the way that you do with a mouse. I'll put a link down in the video description if you're interested in it. It does require a controller with a gyro, so keep that in mind. But even disregarding that, Valve actually did try for a while to push Dota 2 to be played on a controller. I remember whenever the Steam Deck was brand new and they were trying to stress test various games and programs on it, they pushed out an update for Dota 2 that specifically gave it a lot of quality of life features, specifically so you could play it with a controller. It's far from ideal. In fact, it's still pretty dog shit. Dota requires an entire keyboard and a half in order to play, and sure, the Steam Deck has a lot of configurable buttons, and I'll tell you right now, ain't no buttons on a Switch 2 gonna be configurable, but hey, the effort was there. Valve tried to make a competitive MOBA playable on a console. Didn't really succeed, but hey, they tried. Shifting on to another topic, many console games are also coming to PC as time goes on. In other words, game barriers are just lessening. Imagine one day that you could be playing Counter-Strike 2 on an Xbox, TF2 on a Switch 2. Console exclusives are slowly becoming a thing of the past, other than Nintendo, who I just adore so much for their wonderful business practices. In the last few years alone, countless PlayStation exclusive games are now on PC. A lot of them are also transferring over to Xbox. Of course, when it comes to companies opening up their doors to other platforms, it is a company-by-company basis. For example, PlayStation and Sony seem to be pretty open to the idea, whereas, like I said before, Nintendo, not so much. So, while it's rather funny that Valve's only modern console release is on the Switch, I don't think it's a far-fetched idea to believe that at some point Valve might release more of their games or port more of their games onto the PlayStation or Xbox. A bit of a side note, but I think it's a huge missed opportunity that Valve never got in touch with Sony about releasing Half-Life Alyx on the PlayStation 5 VR thing. I don't know. Seems like something that a lot of people would have liked to experience, but hey. The console wars and console loyalty and game exclusivity is slowly becoming a thing of the past. And if I could make a prediction, I think the next big gaming event being people fighting over which storefront is better. I mean, it already kind of happens nowadays. I'm a Valve fanboy, so you know, Steam supremacy. You also got GOG, which I know is also a very good thing, but there are other lesser game storefronts out there that people use, I guess. So as a quick example, Counter-Strike 2, you can only play it on Steam. The only Blizzard games that I actually enjoy, StarCraft and Warcraft, are exclusive to Battle.net, and I don't see them transferring to Steam anytime soon. But hey, if you want to play some NFT garbage, Uplay is right there. Could you imagine that it's your weekend and you're really looking forward to playing some games with your buddies? You hop onto Discord and you say, oh boy, it's the weekend. Let me hop onto Uplay. Oh my god, I hate this fucking company so much. You want to know something funny? Android technically also has a Valve game on it. A modern one. Dota Underlords. Sponsored. Not really. Just watch my other video, please. So Valve actually made a multiplayer game available and cross-playable on your phone. I could see Valve, if they really wanted to, they could port the Portal games onto a phone. Most phones nowadays are pretty powerful. They could definitely run it. If the Switch 1 can run Portal, then a phone definitely can. In other words, the islands that were once video game consoles and PC storefronts, bridges are being built and the games are being shared. A few years ago, they added Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 onto Steam. Although if I'm being completely honest, I think that's more of a case of Blizzard conceding and putting their games onto Steam because they know that they can make more money that way, but that's on them for being such a shitty company. But what are the chances of the reverse happening? Of Valve adding their games onto other platforms and consoles? That's really what I'm just trying to figure out, and I would like to know what you would think, Internet Wanderer. Just recently, Valve released the SteamOS, their operating system, completely free and available to use. You can install it on literally anything. There's also other rumors that apparently Steam might be added to whatever Steam Deck inspired handheld Microsoft is working on. So if Microsoft comes out with their own handheld console, there might be a chance Steam might be on it. If I had to make a prediction at the end of this video, I'll just say that there is probably a chance that we can see some ports of Valve's other games onto some future console. Specifically with the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out, we can probably expect some of Valve's older games. Maybe they'll bundle all the Half-Life games together and make it playable on there. But after all, baby steps. And who knows, if Valve is working on a big game, a big project that people have been anticipating, wouldn't it be nice if a masterpiece, a game that was heavily anticipated and hyped up for a long time, wouldn't it be nice if a game like that wasn't exclusive to PC and other people could experience it as well? Food for thought. Apologies for the rambly video, Internet Wanderer. I just wanted to take a little bit of a break, focus on more casual, less scripted videos, but rest assured I got a big video being worked on right now, but it's just gonna take some time. I want to let it cook. I don't want to rush myself, alright? More content to come. Thanks for watching, Internet Wanderer. Do the YouTube things.